What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Before the Hedges. This is Jeff Sintel, DogNation.com. We are on a shot clock tonight. I want to promise you a few things. Number one, I'm going to have some new top targets in the list.
Before the Hedges,
this is Jeff Sintel, DogNation, the head coach of the Isidore Newman Greenies. That's the head coach of five-star quarterback Arch Manning. You want to hear how that visit went, with maybe a little bit of interruption there from my dog Peaches. I tell you, you guys are used to her on Wednesday night, and sometimes when you're having an interview and a telephone interview with a big name head coach of a big name prospect, the dog just gets really excited. So it's nothing pertinent, but you will hear Peaches in the audio interview as well. I'm going to consider that comedy relief. And we're going to have a flashback part of Before the Hedges tonight. Everybody remember the game we used to play? We played six pack. We're going to do an old school version of six pack tonight as well to help you know the dogs on the Georgia Bulldog roster as spring practice and spring drills are currently underway. Also, I promised you guys this a long time ago. If you wanted to know what I did a couple weeks back when I went on vacation, we'll have some video of that as well. And if anybody's still interested in the Dog Nation cruise on rural Caribbean, dognationcruise.com, you can certainly find out how to do that on the pages of dognation.com to join us as well. But again, Before the Hedges, Dog Nation, I'm Jeff Sintel. This program is brought to you each and every week by Kroger, who wants to hear what Arch Manning's coach had to say about another big recent visit to UGA. Just came out today. Reports were from on3sports.com that Arch Manning has now set another visit to Alabama for the first week of April. So the visits, his path, starting to really come together now as he tries to figure out his decision. But you want to learn about Arch Manning, you want to hear from the head coach of the Isidore Newman Greenies about how that visit to Athens Town went. Take a listen live on Before the Hedges.
Coach, I think one thing that I think is a big thing I wanted to ask you about is, we're in this age where, NIL now is here, and, there's so much. We've never seen this before in college football and college football recruiting. And it seems like Arch is built kind of like a time capsule recruit. Very little social media, very little of the things that guys do for clout these days. Do I have that as a pretty good read? This is a young man that probably is functioning like a 1995 recruit or a 2000 recruit?
Yep, 100%. You said it perfectly. That was when it all started. One thing his father resonated to me was he said, I'd like to make this as close to a old school recruitment as possible. He even said almost like a 70s recruitment where, he can, get a chance to meet coaches and, not get, caught up in the other stuff. And I think that's really the model I've tried to follow, to formulate relationships, not get caught up in offers. I think that, I'm so thankful that, he even though if he ever does it, that he's not on Twitter, because it's nice that, he's never blessed and humbled to receive or announce anything. He's just, it's a handshake and a conversation. And, that's been the model. I think that, when it comes to something like, NIL, there's nothing really to talk about. We don't discuss it. That's not something that, we get caught up in. I think it really, truly is about the relationships in the program and the football. And I think, the university itself, I think that, he's always, quick to say to me, he wants to go to college, he wants to have fun and be a kid too. So, I think that's why he's taking his time, which they've been so great about. He and his family, they know how fluid college football is, and it's amazing how many coaches are on their, second and even third windbreaker since this thing started to pull over. So it's,
good point.
He's been great, but you're right on with that, I would say.
Nelson, it's funny. Have you spoken to him or seen him since he visited Georgia this weekend? Have you got any reports on how that went?
I spoke with his father, who told me they loved it. They loved Athens. They were certainly beyond incredibly impressed with their organization, with their practices, with their meetings, the efficiency of how they did things. So no, they loved it. I think that, I could tell that, speaking with Cooper, and it was neat. It was, he and Arch got to go together. So good little father-son trip. So no, nothing but impressed. And, I'd expect that with, the way, Coach Smart runs his practices and how energetic he is. And there's never anybody, there's no standing around. And there's always a sense of urgency. So, no, they loved it. They came away nothing but impressed, obviously, after their visit.
Why do you think Georgia is in this thing for him? I think that's a safe way to say that. What do you think are the reasons why he likes Georgia?
I think that, just going off those, he loves Athens. He loves, I think that that was the first thing. He said it's a cool town, great college town. I think that, going through, obviously they had known Matt Luke. I think he loves Coach Smart and his energy and how he's involved, in everything. I think it's really, he's not, you could see special teams, offense, defense. I think that, he really, came away. And obviously the family, I think, has known Coach Smart for years going back, and Coach Monken and his NFL pedigree and whatnot, and just everything about it. It's a program year in, year out that's successful. Coach Smart, I think, has solidified them as a national power, and it just kind of checks all the boxes, and it's all about relationships and feel. And they're certainly, he's built a foundation to win year in, year out, and he just I think, and they've done it the right way. They enforced anything. They certainly have just allowed things to play out, and just they've gotten to know Arch, just stayed in contact with him. So I think that really that's why he's a meat and potato kid. I tell people all the time, there's really no secret to it to me. I think it's all about what feels right, where he sees himself, and his says it, when he knows, he'll know, and that's why he's gonna go a few more visits and see where he lands. But I have nothing but praise for the way that Coach Smart's approached things and how they've done it. It's been great.
There you have it. That was Nelson Stewart. That's the head coach of Arch Manning's high school team. So a couple takeaways there. Besides the dog barking, guys, if you guys know Peaches by now, she has to butt her head in and get some opinions here sometimes on Wednesday Night Live and Before the Hedges, brought to you by Kroger. But setting the kind of stage for Arch Manning, I spoke to Pierce Sperling III. That's Georgia's tight end commitment. Pretty good friends with Arch. He told me that they took a lot of pictures in Athens, hundreds and hundreds of pictures in Athens this weekend. And really, they didn't really talk much about football. They just were regular guys, regular high school guys on a college campus. What the sense I got is that Arch is really just looking for something normal. He's looking for a place where he can just be a college kid and go have fun and go to college and play ball. He was deeply interested in football. Probably the biggest thing Pierce told me is that they both followed around the coaches during practice. They had a play sheet. They knew the call. So more so than any visit, they got a good example of what it was going to be like should they both wind up as Georgia Bulldogs. The things you have to do on punt protection, all the many calls, all the many routes, the labyrinth of all the things that it takes almost a genius level intellect to process really quickly when you're a freshman. They got immersed in all that. They were sitting in meetings. Some of the prospects I talked to about Arch over the weekend said he was wearing church clothes all the time. That's just how professional and dapper he tried to look. Really, it's sounding like it's Texas. They're going to get a visit Alabama, Georgia. That's probably the three schools. And a lot of these visits are going to go a long way in determining where Arch Manning's going to line up. I think the biggest thing for Georgia is Arch Manning would really set the fire for Georgia to land a lot of top-tier offensive prospects. Want a way to maybe fix a lot of those issues with Georgia not throwing it enough or Georgia not having that high-powered offense enough. Well, sign Arch Manning, the Manning name, the number one overall quarterback prospect, the number one overall prospect in this class. And a lot of those big names, Carnell Tate's coming into town this weekend, the 5-star nation's number 3 wide receiver, Brandon Ennis, Jalen Hale, names like that. That's a quick way for Georgia to get in really strong or stronger with a lot of those big name wide receivers. Also, another thing to consider there as well is you've got a young man like Reuben Owens that would really already look closer to Georgia than he already is if Arch Manning was in the fold for the Bulldogs. And folks, I know you want to say this or that about the quarterbacks. Folks, it's not going away. It better not go away. You want to follow a program that attracts the very best quarterbacks every year. And it's almost like, and I say the Manning name is what makes it different. But let's be honest, folks. Is the quarterback hype going to be turned up any higher than it was for when Jacob Eason was visiting and considering Georgia, or when Justin Fields was considering Georgia? Brock Vandegrift, I'm sure the last name is different, and it's the Manning name, which is the royal family of college football. But I think in every one of those instances, Gunnar Stockton, throw that name in there as well. In every one of those instances, the hype meter, the anticipation meter was already cranked up to 11 for all these guys anyway. Now, Arch Manning will just be the latest edition of that. And folks, in 2024, should Georgia sign Arch Manning, Dylan Raiola will be there in 2024, who is also the number 1 quarterback in the country and the number 1 overall prospect in the land, who also really likes Georgia in the class of 2024 as well. And I know everybody wonders how it's going to be handled or how it's going to look. It really is always going to be a situation of let the best quarterback win with all this stuff. And that's really what's going to take place in Athens around this Arch Manning recruitment. You guys got any questions? You guys want to learn anything on Before the Hedges? Now's a really good chance to drop me a line or drop me a question. I will be scanning both Facebook and YouTube. Hello, Facebook. Hello, YouTube. It's another Wednesday night here on both of those platforms. Before the Hedges will also become a podcast on the Apple Podcast platform. It's on Spotify. It's on your favorite podcast hosting network, along with SoundCloud. That's where you can find Before the Hedges after it streams live each and every Wednesday night. So very interesting stuff right there. The Arch Manning stuff will kind of dominate the 2023 recruiting narrative for Georgia until he makes his decision. And I thought it was very interesting. If you guys saw the story on Monday night, or I believe it was Monday afternoon, with Pierce Sperling III, he was talking about what he's trying to do. And it's shades of last year. Folks, you remember that first official visit weekend in June when Branson Robinson, Denylon Morissette, Oscar Dell, Gunnar Stockton, Kojo Antwi, all of those guys took their official visit to Georgia at the same time in June. That's what Pierce is trying to line up. He's trying to line that up. He's trying to get a guy like Arch Manning to join him. He's trying to get a guy like Tony Mitchell, the 5-star corner, to join him. He's trying to get a lot of those guys to join him during the official visit weekend in 2022. That would be the first week in June. And wow, if Georgia can get some of the results that they got from the 2021 official visit weekend during that first weekend in June, when they opened up the new facility, when the NCAA allowed visits to take place for the first time, that's really what Pierce Sperling III is wanting to have happen. The nation's number 3 tight end for that class. Guys, that's a little bit on Arch Manning to start off our Before the Hedges show tonight. You guys got any questions, anything going on? Like I said, somebody said, bring it on. Tom Lavelle and Robert Maloney are giving comparisons to who would Arch compare to in college football right now. Guys, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to just let me try to educate you a little bit. Arch Manning is really fast. I think if you want to throw that Joe Burrow comparison out, he's going to have that wiggle, but he's a little bit faster than Joe Burrow. I talked to his coach. There'll be another story going up on DogNation.com tomorrow with a little bit more insight on Arch Manning. He's about a 4.5 guy. He's the type of guy that can take it to the house, 4.5, low 4.5, high 4.5. He's got that type of speed besides that Manning name and that Manning arm. Something to consider there as well. guys, Kroger is our sponsor each and every Wednesday night. Savings are always a slam dunk at Kroger. Shop everything you need for game day or hoops night, either in-store or at your local Kroger store, or shop online at Kroger.com/basketball. I mean, now is the time. March is the time for the madness of basketball. There you have it, guys. Now let's quickly transition. Remember what I promised you. I'll give you a little snapshot of what it was like when Jeff went on vacation later on in the show. Maybe you guys can get on a Royal Caribbean boat kind of like that as well. Also, what we've got going on, we got top targets about to come. Also, stay with us, guys. We're going to have a old school 6-pack trivia from back in the day. Maybe if somebody gets all of them right, we'll do something special for somebody like we did back in the old days of Dog Nations Before the Hedges. Quickly, now let's take a look at top targets. Top targets for this class. Top targets for this class in 2022. Got some change. Got some fluidity, we'd like to say. Coming in, this is version 6.2 or 6.3, I believe. Coming in at number 15 is North Gwinnett's Caden McDonald. Talk about him every week. I think he is an amazing zero-tech defensive tackle. Just visited Arkansas. This was a young man that had 20 sacks in 7A Georgia high school football. Number 14, here's a new name, folks. New name on the list is Raylan Wilson out of Lincoln High School in Tallahassee, Florida. Currently committed to Michigan. Michigan and Georgia were his two finalists. He chose Michigan, but he came back to Georgia this past weekend. It was a great visit by the accounts that I've heard. He had a great time. I do think Georgia will get an official visit from Raylan Wilson as well. That's a name to watch there right now. Raylan Wilson is the nation's number 4 linebacker in the country. He's out of Tallahassee, Florida. Number 13, another guy visited Georgia this past weekend, Tamarian Parker out of Central High School in Phoenix City, Alabama. He's a top 100 recruit. He's an edge. Georgia has been his leader since last fall. He told me over the weekend that Georgia remains his leader as the class of 2023 standout from Central Phoenix City in Alabama. Tamarian Parker, again, big 6'4", 240-pound edge prospect out of Alabama. Number 12, another young man of Alabama, Quay Rousseau out of Carver High School, Carver Montgomery. Told you guys we were going to have some new names. A new name here at number 11 on the top targets list. This is another edge prospect, another guy that Coach Chadaria Uzo Duribe is really recruiting hard right now for the Bulldogs out of Valdosta, Georgia. Another homegrown, ingrown, down south Georgia boy, Gabe Harris. That's a name to watch right now with Georgia football recruiting as well. Another in-state defensive prospect. I think Gabe is the number 8 overall edge prospect for 2023. He's out of Valdosta. I think he's right around number 108 overall in the country for 2023. Number 10, Braylon James out of Texas. Braylon just took a big visit to Notre Dame recently. He's the number 7 overall wide receiver in the country, I believe, maybe number 9. Top 80 overall prospect. Again, receivers are going to be very important in 2023 for this class. Guy whose story just went up, Big Young Maul. If you've been on DogNation.com over the last hour or so, you saw the story here from Jamal Jarrett, kind of detailing the Jordan Davis connection, how well Trey Scott has been recruiting him, how Georgia makes him feel like a family. Here's a quick preview. There's a picture on DogNation.com right now, guys, of Jamal Jarrett standing next to Jordan Davis at the national championship celebration. Pretty much side by side. I think Jordan looks a little bit more cut, a little bit more fit, but Jamal Jarrett is about 6'5.5", about 340 pounds. He has been named the defensive line MVP at his last 2 kind of big prospect camps. One of those was the Under Armour Atlanta Regional. The other one of those was the Rivals Camp Challenge Series that was in North Carolina, mostly for kids from the state of North Carolina. Jalen Hale, guy, 5-star receiver, visited Georgia recently. It was his first visit, and it was a major impressive visit for Jalen Hale. He already told me that Georgia would very likely get an official visit. Nation's number 5 wide receiver, a top 32 overall prospect. Jalen, I think he's number 27 overall, a 5-star wide receiver in the 2023 class. Again, bring on those receivers. That's going to be the charge for BMAC in the class of 2022. Number 7 is another visitor from this past weekend, Troy Bowles. Guys, we're going to have to show you his film sometime soon on Before the Hedges. He is simply annihilating a lot of guys with very little regard to his body, running through guys kind of like Marshawn Lynch was, running through a guy's face. Troy Bowles is the son of Tampa Bay Buccaneer defensive coordinator Todd Bowles, and he was in Athens this past weekend. Number 6, Ruben Owens, the second 5-star running back. We talk about him a lot. Jonel Aguero is visiting Florida this weekend. Just made 2 recent trips to LSU. Ohio State is another school that he wants to make sure and visit this time as well. I think in Georgia's case there, they really need to get him back on campus to kind of solidify a lot of the bonds there. And he needs to get to know maybe not so much the new defensive backs coach here, because really Fran Brown, from what I'm hearing, is going to concentrate mostly on the cornerbacks, and then Kirby and Will Muschamp will focus a lot on the safeties. Number 4, Justice Haynes out of Blessed Trinity in Roswell, Georgia. We talk about him every week. Young man that's going to go down as one of the top 5 all-time leading rushers in Georgia high school history. Number 3, Victor Burley out of Warner Robins. Victor Burley, interesting little story. There was the Macon Touchdown Club's kind of awards banquet or spring banquet. I believe that was last night. Bo Hughley was there. Gabe Harris was there. Victor Burley was there. There was a lot of talk about the Georgia Bulldogs between friends at that meeting in Macon. Number 2, Arch Manning. Been talking about him a lot so far tonight. And number 1, still number 1 on the list, 5-star safety Caleb Downs. Simply put, I think Caleb is one of the most college-ready safeties to come out of high school football in quite some time. He's the number 1 safety in the country. He's the number 1 player in the state of Georgia for this cycle. And Caleb Downs, again, leads our list of the top targets for 2023 at this time. Rolling through the list, Raul Aguirre, he's at Whitewater High School. Impressive linebacker. C.J. Allen, another young man's picking up a lot of big offers lately. Justin Benton, the Georgia legacy. Malik Bryant drops off the top targets list into an others to consider. Kelby Collins, he's actually visiting Alabama right now, I believe, the in-state defensive end. Roderick Kearney, another guy that Georgia likes a lot, that Alabama likes a lot, that Florida likes a lot. Same thing for Dylan Lonergan. A.J. Harris, he's going to visit Georgia on March the 26th. Just come off of another big trip to Florida this past weekend. I really think Georgia needs to really kind of knock it out of the park here this next visit with Fran Brown if they want to kind of stay in the race there for A.J. Harris. Devin Hyatt, Brandon Ennis, Kyler Casper, Caden Lee. There's 4 really good wide receivers in the Caden Lee, 4 really good receivers in the 2023 class. Kyan Lee out of Cedar Grove High School, former Georgia commitment. Xavier McLeod, another impressive defensive lineman out of South Carolina. Tony Mitchell, Zachariah Owens out of Eagles Landing. Christian Madden Sanker, he visited Georgia today along with a couple of other in-state prospects. TJ Searcy, Kelton Smith out of Columbus, he visited Georgia this weekend as well. 3-star offensive lineman Shamarad Umarov out of Denmark High School. That young man grew up in some parts of Russia. His family has roots in Soviet Georgia. He's lived in Uzbekistan. His family's kind of heritage is from Turkey. I really likes Coach Stacy Searles a lot. Those 2 guys really hit it off. Georgia very likely going to get an official visit. He's going to set his top 5 sometime in the next couple of months. Interesting. He's about 6'6", about 290 pounds. He really put on a lot of weight, really changed his body. His coaches there at Denmark High, the Great Danes at Denmark High, told me that he really put on about 40, 45 pounds in the weight room over the last year and turned himself into a big-time SEC prospect. Jaden Wayne, Trayan Webb, Robbie Washington, and Hakeem Williams, the other 2 wide receivers there at the end, Georgia's really looking hard at. Important restock positions, can't stress this enough, with what's happening with Warren McClendon, very likely to go to the NFL. Broderick Jones, he has a great season, a great redshirt sophomore season. He will also be draft eligible. I think that's why Georgia needs to restock the offensive tackle position. Wide receiver, Georgia didn't really get one of those brand names, one of those All-American top 5-star receivers like George Pickens in the last class. Running back, Georgia could see 2 or 3 more running backs move on to the NFL as well, and outside linebacker. Georgia's recruiting breakdown right now, Georgia's still number 4 nationally, still with number 7 commits. It's an offensive slanted class right now. 4 guys in state, 3 guys out of state, 4 top 100 commits. 4 out of Georgia's top 5 highest rated commitments are still on the offensive side of the ball. Guys, Georgia was a little quiet this week on the offer front. May tell you something about that. They only offered 1 guy over the last week. That was an athlete prospect. You look there on the list, Georgia hasn't really offered any quarterbacks, running backs, tight ends, or offensive tackles lately. The bulk of those offers Georgia has is really coming from 3 positions. If you look at wide receiver, defensive line, and cornerback, and really secondary, that's really a little over half of all those offers right there. And just in those wide receiver, defensive line, and the secondary, that's really the bulk of the offers in the 2023 cycle that Georgia has extended so far. All right, guys. One thing I wanted to do, you heard me say something earlier. Yes, we're going to go have a little bit of a flashback right here. Who remembers, first of all, I got to know this. Who remembers six-pack trivia? If you guys remember six-pack trivia, let me know right now in the comments section. Did anybody win something? Does everybody remember the days of cracking open his six-pack with Before the Hedges? That's what we got to get going on right now. Catching some questions, Tom Laval. Tom, NIL will really not motivate Arch at all. Arch wants comfort. He wants familiarity. He wants to find a place where he can thrive, develop, succeed, and excel. Really, with the Manning family and the Manning name, I think name, image, and likeness will really take care of itself. It will not be used as an enticement to where he would want to go make his college decision. Speaking of Johnny Webster, man, you always drink a six-pack during my show, man. So that's 6 in about 60 minutes. That's pretty good. Robert Maloney remembers those days. Let me see if anybody on YouTube remembers those days. So let's see how smart you guys are. Let's see what we can try to do. First question, and remember how we did it back in the day is we did a six-pack trivia. I'm gonna ask a question. I'm gonna give you guys a chance to answer in the comment section. Put those answers out there for the world to see. Be accountable, and we'll see if anybody goes 6 for 6. And if we got anybody going 6 for 6 on either platform, the Before the Hedges fella, the Before the Hedges host, might have something in his goodie bag from one of you guys. All right, guys. Georgia has seen a lot of turnover. Of course, they're going to send at least probably 13 or 14 draft picks to the NFL. I want you guys to tell me, remaining on the roster, this is our first question, first six-pack question. Who is the highest ranked former high school recruit, going off their high school rankings? Who is the highest ranked remaining Georgia Bulldog on the roster? Got some answers coming in on YouTube. And guys, you might want to participate. This is going to be a pretty nice gift. Pretty nice little prize coming out. Sam Hazeltine, that is not JT Daniels. Scott Swindle comes in with Keely Ringo. Tracy Turnipseed. Tracy remaining on the roster, meaning the guys that will be back in the next season, back for the 2022 season. Let me see. I see the names coming up. Kyle Hendricks, Brian McPhail, Brian Crawford, Jerry Dogs fan. Guys, I'm seeing a lot of the answers. I'm seeing a lot of the correct answer. The correct answer is, of course, drum roll, Nolan Smith. Nolan Smith, you guys will remember, was the #1 overall ranked prospect in the class of 2019. He's still on the roster, still going to be a DGD for one more season. That is the correct answer for item number 1. So, guys, if you're number 1, if you're 1 for 1 so far after the first question, let everybody know it in the comment section that you're 1 for 1. Say it loud, say it proud. All right, smart guys. If Nolan Smith is the highest rated recruit on the Georgia roster, who is the second highest rated recruit on the Georgia roster? Same question, just eliminate Nolan Smith, taking Nolan Smith outside the equation. Now, who's the second highest rated recruit on the Georgia roster? Good morning, Barry. How's everything in China? Brian Crawford announces he's 1 for 1. Give you guys a couple more seconds to get some answers in. Seeing more of a range of opinion here. Hope you guys are able to come to it. Remember, folks, if Nolan Smith is the highest rated commitment remaining on the Georgia roster for the 2022 season, who would be the second highest rated commitment? Might be a little tricky. Might be a little curve to it. Give you guys a couple more seconds to get it right. Hopefully to get it right. Hopefully somebody's going to go 2 for 2. The correct answer, my friends, if you said Keely Ringo, you are correct. It's kind of a little bit of a tricky question because Michael Williams and Keely Ringo were both wound up rated as the number 4 final overall ranking prospect in their class. It's just that Keely's ranking was a .9976, I believe, and Michael's ranking is a .9958. For reference, I think Nolan's was a .9994, right there. So anybody 2 for 2? Bob Wright says he's 2 for 2. B. Hudson is 2 for 2. Bradley Hudson is 2 for 2. How's everybody doing? Everybody missed the Before the Hedges 6-pack trivia. Number 3. It was celebrated this year. Julian Rochester was the last remaining 2016 commitment on the 2016 signee on the Georgia roster. He actually got to play in the 2018 national championship game and the 2022 national championship game. Really cool common thread there. I want to go to the 2017 class. There are members of the 2017 class that will be back on the 2022 Georgia roster as super seniors. Name them. To repeat, there are remaining members of the 2022 signing class, of the 2017 signing class, Kirby's second signing class in Athens, that are still on the Georgia team, that will still be on the roster for this fall. I want you to give me the names of the remaining 2017 signees on this year's team. Gets a little tougher. Michael Sanford, 2 for 2. Chase McKissick, 2 for 2. Shannon Bradley Hudson, 2 for 2. Madison Smith, 2 for 2. Be interesting to see who goes 3 for 3 after this one. Look at everybody trying. Stephen Head, Sonia Prescott, David Harvey, Eric Patton. Randy Hall votes Peaches. Peaches is right now, folks, asleep right now, right by my chair. You want to know how fun it is to do a live show before the hedges, rolling through the top targets while there's a dog licking your ankles? Well, just go back and check the film, because that's exactly what this 4-year-old family treasure was doing tonight. I think I've given you guys enough time. The 2017 signees, folks, there are two. If you got Robert Beal and William Poole III correct, give yourself a hand, because that is the correct answer. I saw some things about Stetson Bennett. About Stetson Bennett. He was a walk-on with the 2017 class. So he did not sign. There's really not any scholarship papers you sign as a walk-on. But then he joined the 2019 recruiting class as a scholarship signee. So we're looking for when he signed or what class he was a part of. Remember, Stetson Bennett, QB1, had the junior college year in Mississippi in between his 2017 season and his 2019 season in Athens. Sticking with that theme, our fourth question. There are four 2018 signees. Remember, this prize is going to be pretty good, guys. You get this right. There are 4 2018 signees remaining on the roster, on the Georgia roster, on the 2022 roster. Give me the names of all 4 2018 guys. I really wanted you guys to know this to kind of reinforce who the senior leadership should be, the elder statesman on the team. That's what I'm looking for here. So now there are four, and this, you're probably going to say, Jeff, this is a little hard, but there are 4 2018 signees that are back. They're all kind of in very core positions. I think 3 of them, all you masterminds out there, can probably get right. I think the 4th one might be tough. Reginald White says he's 3 for 3. Kirby's Visors calling people out, saying quit using Google for your answers. Yeah, I'd like to know who's Googling really fast the 2018 signing class and trying to figure that out. Let's be honest here. B. Hudson Sr. says he's 3 for 3 as well. Randy Hall's got 4 horsemen. He don't have the right 4 horsemen, though. 2018 signees. How many 2018 signees are left? Remember, that was Georgia's first #1 overall recruiting class. We had the 7 5-stars, and quickly guys like Brenton Cox, Justin Fields, Cade Mays, Luke Ford, all those guys wound up, Otis Reese wound up transferring out of Georgia really quickly after like a year or so. Still, that was the 2018 signing class that really was the kind of one of the core signing class, which brought home the national championship. So it did what it was supposed to do when Georgia wound up as the first #1 recruiting class in history, stealing that honor away from Alabama, or grappling or tugging that honor away from Alabama. Just did it differently than everybody thought. Everybody thought that, a lot of Brenton Cox sacks or Adam Anderson sacks or Justin Fields touchdown passes was going to be the way they went about it. Georgia found a different way to go about it. The correct answer for all you guys on our 4th 6-pack trivia question, the correct answer is the remaining 2018 signees. I want to know if you get this right. Kieris Jackson, pride of Peach County. Warren Erickson, the former North Gwinnett Bulldog. Christopher Smith out of Hapeville Charter Academy. And then the 4th one is Tremel Walthor. Tremel's probably going to wind up being, at least to begin with, the starting defensive end for Georgia in 2022. I know Michael Williams is going to make a charge, but that young man is the fourth. So those are the four remaining 2018 signees. And I know I was bad. I know that was a rough rep. I know I gave you guys the trivia equivalent of trying to block Jordan Davis with a back let him free. But this next one, I'll make it easier. If you guys got to 4 for 4, I'm going to help you get to 5 for 5. This question is a true or false question. True or false question. Georgia has already seen 35% of its 2019 class either transfer out, portal out, or move on to the NFL. True or false? 35% of the 2019 signing class has already moved on to another school, to the transfer portal, or to the NFL. Jarvier Barnes, hey, a quick report on MJ Sherman. This is kind of his move year, especially this spring. Indications right now coming out of spring camp, spring drills, is that Mikal Sherman has looked pretty strong. I see a lot of people coming in with this one. Here's the answer. And everybody's like, all right, Jeff, that's easy. Well, what if I told you, well, first of all, let me set the table here. The correct answer is true. The correct answer is true. Yes, 35% of that 2019 signing class is already gone. It would either be in the NFL or the transfer portal or playing at another school this fall. So Georgia signed 24 signees, 24 prospects in the 2019 cycle. 9 of those young men have already moved on. And actually, correct answer is a little bit higher than 35%. It's actually 38%. 38%. I got another one for you. This is going to be an over or under question for you. An over or under question for you. I'm going to throw out a figure, and you're going to tell me whether the true answer is over or under. The number I'm going with is 14. And you're going to be like, Jeff, what are we talking about here with 14? What are we talking about here with 14? Here it is. The number of the remaining 5-star recruits, 24/7 Sports Composite 5-star recruits on the Georgia football roster, 2022 spring roster, is it over or under 14? All right, smart folks, that's your last one. Do we have anybody here going for 6 for 6? Love to know if you did. Senio G, Antoine Sampson, Steve Stroffauer. Got a lot of folks weighing in. I think Facebook is a little behind. Correct answer. Let me give you guys a couple more minutes, a couple more seconds. The correct answer is over. It's over. Georgia currently has 15 5-star commitments, 5-star signees that are remaining on the roster on the 2022 reigning national championship roster. Georgia added 5 in the 2022 cycle to get back up to 15. It goes 2 remaining in 2019, Nolan Smith, Clay Webb. 4 remaining in 2020. That's Keely Ringo, Broderick Jones, See if I get them all right. Keely Ringo, Broderick Jones in 2020. You also have, of course, who could forget Jalen Carter and Darnell Washington? Those are the 4. You have 4 in 2021. That's Amarius Mims, Shmael Munden, Xavier Sori Jr., and Brock Vandegrift. And then you have the 5 in 2022. Guys, that is your six-pack trivia. If we have anybody that thinks they're 6 for 6 or they are 6 for 6, let me know, and we'll take care of you. But I don't know if we have a 6 for 6. If you beg to differ, sir, please let me know. So, all right, guys, that's Before the Hedges. We've talked a lot about Arch Manning. We looked at the top targets. We had some six-pack trivia. I gave you a few thoughts on a few names that are kind of popping up for Georgia recruiting. Some new names that were on the top targets list this week. If you're just joining our show, we had an audio interview at the beginning of our program where Nelson Stewart, the head coach for Arch Manning, who really does all the media and acts as a spokesman for the Manning family after every visit. He broke down what was great about the Georgia visit and kind of how Arch Manning kind of goes about the business end of his recruiting process. It's really a lot different than we've seen before. I mean, it was kind of funny how Coach Stewart told me that his father, Cooper Manning, basically told him, we want to make this recruitment as much like a 1970s recruitment as possible. And really, you could call him a time capsule recruit. That's kind of the way I view the Arch Manning recruitment, because it's really taking place like a young man. No Instagram, no social media, no Twitter, no tweeting out every visit, tweeting out every offer, tweeting out jersey pics, nothing like that. I believe the young man, I do know the young man has Snapchat, but that's about the only social media he has, and that's all. He has a private Instagram account as well. Last thing on our show tonight, we talked about a lot. You guys have a question, feel free to drop it as you will, but I got a surprise for you. Remember when I told you a couple of weeks back, I went on a cruise ship, a Royal Caribbean cruise ship. Had some fun on my vacation. We have some video here. I'm going to let you check it out and tell me what you think. I think my man Michael has got it queued up and ready to go. This is what Jeff did on his winter break vacation with his family. I would recommend each and every one of you trying this at home.
You guys ready?
Ready?
Bye-bye.
Woo! All right, guys. Got some intel for you today. Woo! I'm Jeff Sintel. Thank you for joining us on another edition of Before the Hedges. We had a lot of stuff to talk about on Arch Manning today in our program. We had an audio interview with his head coach. We had six-pack trivia. We had video without audio. Sorry about that. We had audio of my my winter break vacation trip. Hope you guys enjoyed that. That was something that was a lot of fun to do. You guys can do that on a Royal Caribbean excursion as well. Guys, that's it. It's Before the Hedges. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Go check out dognation.com right now. Really cool story there about 4-star defensive tackle Jamal, Big Young Maul Jarrett, 2023 prospect Georgia's really going after out of North Carolina. Some recruiting services wonder if he's an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman. He's massive. Trey Scott was in on him very, very early, establishing a connection with his family already. Does that sound familiar? Does that sound sort of like Big 99? Then you guys can read all about it. Brandon Adams comes at you tomorrow at 9:45 for First and 15 on the Dog Nation streaming platforms. I'm Jeff Sintel. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for joining this program each and every week. You guys can check us back later on the pages of dognation.com. That's your intel. Be well out there, everybody, and have yourself a good night. And we'll see you again real soon.